Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey.
Welcome back to our series, kind of get to know us, get to know our team. I'm excited to be here with Marinna today. She's actually the newest member of our team. And so I'm excited for you to get to know her and love her as much as we do. So we're just going to kind of jump right in, let her share a little bit about maybe her background, just where she lives, age, all the fun things that, maybe we could each relate to in a different way. I love to kind of know all those things about somebody. So you want to start there, Marinna?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Marinna. You can call me Min for short. That's my nickname. It's what everyone calls me.
I need to remember that. I need to start calling that.
Yeah.
I like that.
No offense. I prefer it. It's fine.
Okay.
I currently live in Cincinnati, Ohio with my husband. We've been here for about, since 2012 now. So almost 13 years at this point. I've been married. It'll be 10 years in May this year. So we have one little dog. She keeps us busy. And yeah, we love it here.
Yeah. And fun fact, you like the cold and the snow, right? That was just fun fact about you that is maybe different than others.
I actually do prefer, if it's going to be cold, it better have a lot of snow with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in Ohio, we get the cold, but we kind of lack in the snow department just a little bit. So it's kind of not my cup of tea, but at least we get a little bit of it.
Gotcha. So as people are just kind of getting to know you, tell us a little bit about how you started out professionally and maybe what your passions are now versus maybe when you first started out, kind of thinking, what do I want to do?
Yeah. So I started off when I'm a pharmacist. So I graduated pharmacy school in 2012. And at that point, I had really no idea what I wanted to do. I was a CVS intern at that point for 3 years. And they offered me a job. So I just kind of rolled with that. And I went to work for them as a floater pharmacist around the Indiana area. And then once my husband moved out to Cincinnati, when he graduated, I kind of followed suit. And CVS made that transfer really easy for me. I got placed at a store in a very small town by Dayton, Ohio. And it was very I guess this is what I'm going to do. And then, I had a lot of questions arising from that experience. I didn't feel like I was really helping people. I felt like I had to keep up more with metrics, and it was more about how many prescriptions I could fill, and it was less about counseling and making people aware of their conditions and what they can do to improve their conditions. And that's not how it was kind of set up for us in pharmacy school. It wasn't advertised, so to say, that way. So that kind of, that was kind of a zinger at that point. When it got too much at CVS, like any big corporation, I went to more of an independent pharmacy in even a smaller town in Ohio. And that was just a much better fit in terms of I got to do like medication therapy management sessions and just more one-on-one and knowing your patients better. But it was still like in a retail atmosphere and quick and fast, and everything had to be done right then and there. And it just started not aligning with what I had expected pharmacy to be as a whole.
Right.
So then I kind of moved into more of an office type setting with home infusion pharmacy. And that was just more clinical based, more interaction with doctors and nurses and less interaction with the patients because we delivered everything out to patients. So we never saw any of them in-house. And then it kind of, with my own health challenges at that time, I kind of pivoted completely from conventional pharmacy and that conventional model of thinking into more alternative means.
Yeah. I feel like if you're in pharmacy because you truly, and I don't mean this ugly, but if you got into pharmacy because you truly want to help somebody in their health, I think eventually you find yourself questioning a lot.
Yes. Yes, you do. And I think I had like a double whammy. I was also dealing with my own health issues that I wasn't getting answers for.
Yeah.
So that even like speeds up that way of thinking a little bit more than if I was, fully functional, healthy, not, really in it in my own space. So both those things, I call it, it was a double whammy and it went from there.
When you think back, like in your journey, whether it be like, I mean, they're always intertwined, like that's your more professional journey, but also in your own personal health journey, like what was a pivotal moment that you really thought, I need a change. I need, even though we don't go to pharmacy school thinking that we're not going to do pharmacy until we retire. Most of the time, right? That's just your path. So it's hard to maybe step away from that. I know it was for me.
Yeah. And you spend all that time and money in school and you feel like you have to do that for the rest of your life because you put so much emphasis on it.
Yeah.
My pivotal moment, it was kind of twofold. It was my own health journey with fertility, and our first miscarriage and our first loss. That kind of set the tone of I need to get out of conventional pharmacy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how stress inducing and how it was just against my values and my ideals at that time. It wasn't aligning with what God had on course for me any longer. So, quitting my conventional job and working with Cornerstone with you guys, those two things came in tandem together very quickly, and it kind of sprung me forward, and I haven't looked back since then. So working with Cornerstone and also taking up health coaching classes, a health coaching course, those things were all working together to kind of leave me where I am now.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the training you got as a pharmacist and then now the training you have as a health coach. Like, obviously they're training us in pharmacy to, look for interactions or help people manage their medications. Like, what do you think now is like something that is super pivotal for people and very impactful in their health journey? that you want to like help them with?
It's not black and white. And in conventional or allopathic medicine, most things are very black and white. You show up to a doctor with these symptoms, you're given a diagnosis, and you're given the medication to treat that diagnosis. And I put treat in quotes very specifically. Because it's we are all so bio-individual, and I really started learning that from my health coaching classes. There is so much more to health than the physical. And honestly, after going through all of these things, all of these experiences, it's probably the least, the thing we should care about the least in terms of importance. It really stems from the mind down instead of the symptoms up, if that makes sense. So I just truly want people to believe that they are whole as they are made. They don't need to be fixed. They don't need to be treated with medication, so to say. And there is a time and place for that. Just like there is with everything. But you are a whole person as you are right now in this moment in time.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I was actually just having a conversation with someone, and she just has a lot of anxiety. And I just asked her, like, what do you feel? Because she's like, I just need some support. And I was like, well, what do you feel like you need? And she, was just like, I feel like I need to be fixed. And that's just so common, So, how, in your training, do you feel like you help someone realize that they have to almost look at things like it's a mindset shift? It's, I don't need to be fixed. I have everything I need to heal. To me, sometimes that sort of is ambiguous, right? It's like, okay, we can hear that, but are we really listening? And how do we even like get from one place to the other if we do find ourselves in that spot?
Yeah, for me, unfortunately for me, and this might be what you have to do. You have to do all those things. You have to do the medications, and then, now I'm going to change to supplements, a little less, harsh on the system. I have to do all the supplements. I have to do, all the lifestyle factors I have to do all the diets. You almost have to make that progression. And if you're still in that spot of not feeling how you want to be, I think that is when it finally like hits you, where that mindset shifts into, okay, maybe this mindset thing really has some weight to it.
I've tried everything else.
I've tried everything else. Sure. And that was definitely for me. I've tried everything else. I've done all the things. And I don't mean to say that that's, yes, it's hard to hear that. Oh, I have to go through all these steps. But sometimes for some people, and I've seen it especially with science-minded people specifically, it's hard to believe that something else can be possible than the black and white, than the scientific, than the physical symptoms. I completely understand that. For sure.
Yeah. I know. And it's like, I think we want the quick answer. And I mean, and to say the quick answer, like it really does go back to mindset, but everybody comes in at a different spot, and everybody has, I feel like, a different journey they have to be on to get them in the right posture, I guess would be the right word to say, like that you actually do, that you're actually ready to make the change. And that's different for everybody. So I know that in your, like, you're not trying to be ambiguous and like not give a straight answer, but that's just the way that it is. There's no other way to explain it. I completely agree. I was the same way. I've talked about it on a previous podcast that I had tried every single thing like known to man to fix my gut. And it was literally like, I just needed to let go. So, I get it. But I think so often that just speaks to like how much we want the destination rather than appreciating the journey. And I know that's so cliche, and like you probably heard that before, but it's so true. That's what shapes us and changes us and makes us into what God wants us to be. That's just, yeah. I know you probably feel the same way.
100%. Absolutely. We have this mentality of our eye on the prize. But that prize can change. So then when we get that prize, what do we have? So to say. So kind of gets philosophical too. But it's everything you said.
And, what I found in myself, at least I can speak to, is I was chasing the wrong things. And so every frustration, every, time I was just kind of back to the drawing board, like, what do I do now? It brought me a little closer to more surrender and like more of, maybe I should just seek what God wants for me, because obviously I can't figure it out on my own,
Right.
But God, I do agree though, maybe with somebody that is more logically minded, analytical, man, there's a lot of layers to us needing to figure out things and just follow a path, maybe follow a formula. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Right.
And there is really no formula.
No, there's not.
I hate to tell you, we want one, but there's just not one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What's one belief you held strongly in the past, but you've changed your mind about?
Now this
Just
is
pick
going back.
one, right? I know there's probably
several.
I know.
I think for me, it was pharmaceuticals are here to save and fix us. And we are powerless to stop whatever happens to us. I firmly believed that the pharmaceutical industry was here to save lives, and not that they're not. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But specifically for me, through my fertility journey, at the beginning, I had just accepted the hand that I was dealt. I said, well, I'm just unlucky. God is punishing me. God is angry with me. But then I learned that I didn't have to accept that this is the hand I was dealt, because infertility does not come from God. So yeah, it's there's so much more to an experience and a journey than just following a formula, like you said. It's a lot bigger and broader than that. So I guess that's the biggest thing I learned, that God is here to fix us and help us and heal us, not any corporation or any company. We have everything in our power to do that ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, if we follow him, if we rely on his strength, for sure. I think that, as I said, I'm definitely guilty of wanting a formula, but I think in the past I've wanted that because that makes us feel in control and safe. If we are following the formula, then 1 + 1 is going to equal 2. And sometimes that's the case, but a lot of times it's just not. And God doesn't often work in formulas either, because he wants you to trust him versus anything else. And a lot of times, we're looking for like a formula from somebody else, or from a doctor, or even a practitioner or something like that. But that leaves out him, and he's the one that heals and he's the one that has the best plan for us. So, that's so true. And we just sometimes we have to go through all those frustrations. And even though, gosh, we'd like to skip those. And even, people that come to us at Cornerstone and are just so frustrated, or they're just in a bad place physically. I think we need people to walk alongside us too, because we can't see sometimes what we can't see, because we're too in it. We're in pain, or we're suffering, or whatever. And that's just such an honor. I know you feel the same way, to walk with somebody in their journey. as we kind of round out this conversation, I'd love to know just your heart behind what brings you to this work, and what, just showing up every day and maybe going through some hard things with people. We were having this conversation. You're doing a lot of, you're training, finishing up your certification, and you're like, gosh, I thought this was going to be more straightforward. Like, people are really struggling with a lot of stuff. I'm like, yeah. Tell me,
Yeah.
what your thoughts are, and why you just have a heart for this work.
I think because I've walked through this journey. I've gone from one mindset to a completely different mindset. And I see the benefits of simply just letting it go to God and surrendering it to him. And Cornerstone really put that at the forefront of my mind. And I think that's what kind of triggered everything else. But I do not want women to feel like they can't carry, like they are told that they are defined by a diagnosis or a lab value.
Yeah.
It honestly breaks my heart that that's what women are being told in the conventional world, that they have no chance, or they have 1%, 2%. I've heard all the percentages, chances of naturally conceiving a child.
Right.
And it's just not acceptable to me any longer.
Really.
And while I respect what doctors have been taught in their areas of practice, and I do think there is a time and place for all of those things. I've met some wonderful doctors in my journey. So there's not to say that there isn't a time and place for that. But I also don't want people to believe that that's the end all be all. There is so much more to an experience and a journey than simply their lab values or what a diagnosis has told them. And I have such a passion for especially helping women see that and being empowered to believe that, and just to turn it over to the Lord, honestly.
Yeah. Amen. I was just thinking, like, we talked a lot about how mindset and just that plays, our outlook on things plays such a huge part. And it's just sort of this thing, like, we're not saying that physical things don't matter. Of course they do, but it's your motivation behind things and the way that you're seeing them that's so crucial. Again, like you're saying, a lab value doesn't define somebody. Definitely not, but we still use those to help us decide, like, okay, what is going on physically? How can we help support that while we work on the emotional and spiritual side? So, I thought that just popped in my mind. Like, that is an important point to point out, just because it all goes together, but when you focus on one part, you're leaving out so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really try to take an integrative approach, and that's why we put that in our name, because that's important to us. We want to look at all the ways that we can heal.
I feel like, the labs give you a picture of what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
So we can use that mindset work and those other lifestyle factors to change those, because everything can be adjusted and changed and altered in some way. So yes, all of it's important.
Right. Yeah. So 2 fun questions before we round this conversation out. What's your ideal way to start the day?
I love this tiny habit that I do. I wake up each day, I put my feet on the floor, and I say it's going to be a great day, and I smile. I take a couple deep breaths, and then I exit the room, so to say, and honestly, I let it flow from there. I found myself getting really down when I didn't do my routine, so to say. So I've kind of just like stepped back and allowed what came naturally next. Whether it be sitting down and doing a devotional, or I use like the Holy Bible app, or saying a prayer. That's usually somewhere in the morning time.
Mm-hmm.
But where that lands can be different each day. Sometimes I'll open the door, listen to the sounds outside, get some sun. Sometimes I don't. I do make breakfast for myself, my husband, and my dog every morning.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a staple. But again, where it falls just kind of ebbs and flows. And then when I take the dog out, I try to take some deep breaths outside, whether it be cold or warm. I try to keep that consistent, and just, again, kind of make peace with the world as it is, whatever that is in that day. Sometimes it's frigid.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I don't tie myself to strict routines anymore, because I felt like that was actually hindering me. And I was allowing myself to beat myself up if I didn't stick to that routine. So, there's nothing you have to do, right? It's what you're being called to do at that time, and just let it go from there.
I love that. So often people feel like they need more discipline to be healthier, I guess would be the right way to put it. But I don't think that's the case at all. So I think that speaks to that beautifully.
Yeah.
So like maybe at nighttime, how do you like to wind down? Do you have like just maybe I don't know, a guilty pleasure? Like, I don't want to call it guilty because it's not, but like just something fun you like to do to wind down the day.
Yeah, so I really enjoy like murder mystery
Yeah.
books and like documentaries. There's a few on Netflix that I get entranced in. I don't know if I was told by someone, because we had a connection about this murder mystery thing, being women. It's like being aware of our surroundings, because as women, we have to feel safe. And I think it's just being aware of like what could happen. It's just like ingrained in us. So I just felt like that viewpoint on that was interesting. She had the same kind of guilty pleasure about these murder mysteries, but I also like reading murder mystery books, and like I said, watching the documentaries. But that can be very activating and
Yeah, it really
angering at times.
Right.
So it's definitely a balance of, okay, have I been stressed all day? Probably not the best time to delve into Lacey Peterson's story. Or if I had a really good uplifting day, like, okay, I'm going to turn on some of this today.
Sure.
So yeah, that's one thing I do at night. And then the other is a dark chocolate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always.
I've worked myself up to 85-90% dark chocolate, but
Okay. I like that. I can do it pretty dark too.
It's not gone. Unfortunately, I do eat them with Brazil nuts though.
There you go. I love a sweet treat after dinner too, for sure. Do you have a certain brand of chocolate you like?
What is it called?
It's okay.
I can't think of the brands now. I can picture like the packaging, but I can't get to the brand. I try to find the one with like the least sugar in it, and the least amount of extras. But yeah,
there's so many now.
Yes, there are. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
Thank you for joining me, and I'm just so grateful that God led us together. I don't know how long it was ago that we worked with you as a client, and then just this whole, the way God's orchestrated everything. I'm just so grateful, and I'm excited for people to just work with you and get to know you better, and your heart for the Lord is just so encouraging. And I know it's just He's just has gone before us, and He's got good plans, right? Got good plans. So
it's amazing. There's no coincidences here.
Definitely not. All right. I'm sure you'll be hearing more from Min. I'm going to call her that now. I love that. And so until next time, see you guys on the next episode. Well, we are continuing our Get to Know Us series, Get to Know Our Team series, and now we have Hannah on with us. Hannah, I met, was it like 3 years ago, 4 years ago? A friend introduced us, and she actually was a client at first, and then has just really become passionate about holistic health, and probably was already passionate, but has just kind of developed that passion over the last few years, and now works with us here at Cornerstone. And so I'm excited for you to get to know her a little bit better. Now, we have recorded a couple of podcasts in the past that I am going to link up in the description of this, or the show notes, I should say, because those are great episodes to go back and listen to as well. She shares a lot about her health journey and just shares some great things on those podcasts. So I'll link those. But in this one, I really wanted to just kind of continue that and let you get to know her a little bit more. So Hannah, why don't you just start off with like a little bit about you, like where you live and just your family and whatever you want to share as far as it relates to that.
Yeah. Aw. Well, I am 25. I am married to my best friend. We met in college on the swim team. I have an 18-month-old, and then I'm 34 weeks pregnant, so we have a second one on the way. And we live in Merced, California, so in the middle of California, out in the valley. And yeah, I have enjoyed so thoroughly working alongside Kari and under Kari, and I'm excited for our conversation today.
I
So,
know. I always enjoy talking to you anytime we get to talk. And I always wish like people knew you and loved so they could get to know you and love you as much as I do. So hopefully this little interview will help them to do that. Speaking of, like, you have been working with us for about a year, like I guess officially. So what would you feel like is just maybe a highlight of that past year?
oh my goodness. Oh, Kari put me on the spot. An
Sorry,
unplanned
it just
question.
popped in my head.
I think the team aspect. Originally, when I went through training through the FDNP course, I thought I was just going to be doing like my own practice and having my own practice. Praise the Lord, that was not his plan, because it really does make such a difference being part of a team and each team member having their own strength and each other to bounce ideas off of, to pray for one another. So yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that part is my favorite.
That part's my favorite too. So we agree on that for sure. Like I said, you have shared a good bit about your journey, your healing journey, and you just, that was shared in those other episodes. But like, what do you feel like when you look back was one of the most pivotal, points in that journey?
Oh, it's so funny because I think, yeah, in the other podcasts, I've shared a little bit more about like my upbringing in terms of having gone through an eating disorder and the
Mhm.
athletic culture and whatnot. But I really wanted to answer this honestly. And, it really wasn't until this past year a huge shift happened for me personally when, my little one, her birth was unexpected and did not go according to plan. And, um, there were just some things I think that she needed more support with, health-wise because of that, and then also too, I think our family, um we've been going through this mold journey, um, as well as me personally learning about my nervous system and how that plays a role into health. And so all that to say, it became really clear over time that I really needed help with,
Mhm.
um kind of entrusting those that God had placed really close to me that I loved and looked up to and were there for a reason, like letting them help me and
Yeah.
my family. Um, and not feeling like I needed to be the sole practitioner for my family. That was humongous truly
Yeah.
humongous. And I'm so thankful. Like, I only question why I didn't do that earlier because it
Yeah.
really has made such a difference in terms of stress for me and um just not feeling like I have to do and figure out everything on my own, you know? So, and it's just so
Right.
sweet. You guys have been so caring for Josie and my husband and I too. And it's just, oh, I can't tell. Like, that's just been such a huge weight lifted off.
Right. I don't think sometimes we realize like what a weight it is either. It's like until it's maybe not there. Yeah, like I do know and like I can think back that it is a lot of pressure just to feel like you have to figure everything out and you're the one that's in control of a lot of like, you go to the grocery store, or you're bringing things into your home. Like we do have wear a lot of hats as moms and wives. And Lord knows, like we need support in a lot of different areas, and our health is often one of them. Especially when, it might not always be the case, but especially when you're going through bigger transitions, and like there is more stress maybe or something. So I always I feel like now I try to verbalize it more. Like if we have a new client that comes in that first initial appointment, it's like, hey, God brought you here for a reason. You don't
Mhm.
need to be going to Google as much, right? You kind of let us, take some of that from you, and sometimes it's like it's a mental thing too.
Mhm.
It's a mindset shift, I think.
Mhm. And I
Definitely.
if I could add just one thing to that
Yeah.
too, I think um having access to so much information now
Yeah.
almost makes you think you have to know it all and learn it all. And I think there is great benefit to being able to like self-educate yourself, but there has to be a limit, we are not
Yeah.
limitless beings. And so
Right.
I think there for me personally, there just were other priorities I needed to show up for my family,
Mhm.
and I can trust this part, to my
Right.
professional and, like, kinda let that go, you know? So,
Sure.
um, yeah.
That's awesome. Um, in just thinking about that shift in particular, like, um, what do you feel like it's like one belief you held on to that you now realize maybe didn't serve you or you've changed your mind about?
Mm. Yes, that's a good question. Um, I think it's kind of funny, but, when we first started to work together, you introduced to me kinda opened my eyes to, um, the pro-metabolic
Mhm.
field or
Yeah.
realm, which sounds like, um, at first, if you're not familiar with it, diety, but it's really not.
Mhm.
It's like basic principles of,
Yeah.
fueling yourself and eating a sufficient amount and
Mhm.
whatnot. And so anyways, um, I got really excited about it because it was so countercultural to what I had believed in terms of like just eating enough, and then also how amazing food is and the way that God created it.
Yeah.
And so all that to say, and that does still like spark such a um what's the word? Inspiration for me when it comes to cooking and making meals and whatnot and feeding our family. But I was so I think I held really tightly on to a lot of the foods that are promoted as very nutrient dense, which they are, but I don't think I took into account um, that there is a time and place when you can tolerate certain things.
Yeah.
And it was this past year, I think,
Mhm.
when I just felt like there was a lot of external stress going on and I just wasn't tolerating some of the foods that I loved so dearly. It was really hard for me to let those go
Yeah.
that were obviously just they just weren't benefiting me at the time. Um and so yeah, I think that learning, there is a season for everything, including foods. And bio individuality is a huge thing that we have to
Yeah.
take into account. But um, yeah, I think that was really hard for me to wrap my head around is like, oh, but on paper, these foods are just so nutrient dense and
I know. Yeah.
amazing, and they taste phenomenal. And but it's okay. Like, it's okay that right now I can't tolerate them, and that's okay. Like, there's priorities elsewhere,
Right.
tended to. So
I love that. I was also thinking about it would be cool to just share, there are so many different facets of like, maybe that's a bad way to express it, but like in this holistic world, there's so many different, I guess, areas of it. What do you feel like you're most passionate about?
oh, that is so hard. I think honestly, being a source of accountability for the Christian woman who wants to explore the holistic world, because I've personally found that it can be quite dangerous to go all in to this realm, and it can in many ways to not be much different than if you were to go to the conventional route.
Yeah.
Um and I've just seen so much how important it is, like, that we still be discerning of um the messages being portrayed. I
Mhm.
think that, because there's a lot of secularness in the
Yeah.
holistic world as well, and I think
Mhm.
Satan really does use that to turn our eyes more towards ourselves and not towards Christ. And
Right.
so, um, don't get me wrong, I think food is probably my is something I'm extremely
In my
passionate
mind, I was
about.
like, she's definitely going to say nutrition, but you just one up like that. Of course, you were going to say that because that's true. I mean, there's just so much of a spiritual component to it, and right, that means good and evil, right? They're going to be both there. So just helping walk with women walk through that and kind of discern maybe and just lift up in prayer. Like that's the heart of Cornerstone, truly. So
Mhm.
gosh, so glad you mentioned that. Okay. Something fun. Like what's your ideal way to start the day?
Oh man, if everything has gone perfectly in
Right. If
terms of
everything's going perfectly, what is your favorite way?
waking up, making a warm drink, and then reading my Bible, and if the weather permits it, and I'm not pregnant and more sensitive to the weather, then probably going outside and reading my Bible. I just love that. I think I thrive on slow mornings. I really do.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love it.
Yeah, so that would be my ideal morning.
Yeah. Let's say this usually happens like, later in the day or at night. Like what is something maybe that isn't like, I don't know, I don't want to say ideal, but like what's your guilty pleasure? Like, is it watching a TV show or is it like a certain snack or like, just something like it's just fun to do that maybe after a long day or when you have time to yourself.
Yeah, it's actually really sweet. I really enjoy, as of lately, going to coffee shops,
Mhm.
and, that's something my husband and I have done for dates because it's during usually on the weekends because at night we're both pretty tired.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
um, but it's sweet because I used to not do that for a really long time when I was going through my eating disorder, and even in remission, I was just so scared of, like, quality and all of these things that go into, what you could get at a coffee shop, and
Yeah.
it's just so enjoyable to go, and I just don't have that fear anymore. I still make a conscious choice of what I'm getting, but,
Yeah.
um, just to be able to enjoy it, it's so nice,
I
and
know. I love a good coffee shop. I
yeah.
do. That is my love language.
Oh well,
So, fun fact, Hannah and I have never met in person. I was just thinking I wish we could go sit at a coffee shop and just like enjoy that together. Maybe one day, not maybe, definitely one day, Lord willing. We actually live on opposite ends of the United States. I live in Georgia. She lives in California. So, and you keep having babies. So like, which isn't a bad thing at all. We're so excited for your family and just so thankful that like you can still, do what you're passionate about and uplift these women that come to work with us at Cornerstone, and also be there with your family. Like, what a gift.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. No, lastly, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I know we could go on and on, but I'm just wondering, I know I think back about in my journey whenever I was maybe just, in that false belief about certain things, or maybe over legalistic. Like, what's one thing you wish you could go back and like tell yourself?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think you mentioned it earlier in that God has brought certain people, and in this case, like you could say practitioners in your life for a reason, and really, really trusting in that and His sovereignty in that. Obviously your trust isn't in the practitioner and
Yeah.
you're banking on them to heal you, but He has made a way for that to happen. And I wish at the beginning, of course He uses all of it, all of our mistakes, but that I really leaned into that because so much stress can be invoked from trying to understand the why
Yeah.
behind certain things. And like I said, just figuring out all the information. And gosh, I mean, if there's anything I've learned these last couple of months, is just how much our nervous system does play a role in our health. And unfortunately, like a
Yep.
lot of these habits, I think about it as like, if our time is so precious and valuable and such a gift, and our attention as well, we would never just during the day spend, let's say, for example, money without any reason or intentionality behind it, but like I think sometimes with time, we just feel like, oh, it's not
Sure.
that precious or it's not that fleeting. I can just, and my attention isn't either. And it's like, it so is. It is such a gift. And
Mhm.
you don't have to give it away to all the tempting things.
Right.
Um, especially
Even
when it
if they're
comes
good
to,
things,
yeah.
even if they are good things, we have to discern what's best for us, not just, what isn't technically what we're not deeming as bad, right? I mean, because the enemy's going to use something that maybe isn't for us right now, but we're not paying attention to it, right?
Mhm.
We're not being discerning. So I love that. I think that's huge, not just in general, because we all have things going on, and many of us have families at home, and yeah, they deserve our attention, and sometimes we're just giving it to things that are lesser, or of course, I mean, the Lord, time with the Lord. There's just so many things, but
Yeah.
yeah, I sometimes I get overwhelmed with like all the things there are to do. I know I used to do that a lot more. And so I just had this little saying, like, God's given me enough time today to do whatever He wants me to do.
Mm.
And so that just helps remind me, like, okay, it's fine. I have enough time to do what He wants me to do, maybe not whatever I want to do.
Mhm.
So it's just a sweet reminder whenever we feel like there's never enough time. I know that sometimes we can think that because we wear a lot of hats, but
Yes.
yeah, the Lord is so sweet to provide everything we need.
Yes, and I think it's so hard too when you're at the beginning stages of this journey and you are just so desperate to feel better
I
and
know. Yeah.
get answers, and there's so much grace for that. But yeah, I think when we are the weakest and most vulnerable, that's really when Satan really tries
Mhm.
to get at us. And yeah, I hope, and I encourage anyone who's listening that you really don't have to do this alone. This journey is not, it's just too much to do alone. And um, yeah, so
Yeah. Well, we would I know we would love to walk with you if that's what you feel like is best, and if you need extra support right now. So thank you so much, Hannah. I really enjoyed this conversation. Stay tuned for the other convos we have in our Get to Know Us series, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.